So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hadouken back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, May 5th here today. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Wednesday, May 5th here today. Yankees coming off of a big win last night against the Houston Astros. The cheaters, we defeated the cheaters. We took them down. The fans were great. The booing was awesome. They deserve it. And all those people out there trying to say, oh, well, why were they were being a little harsh. No, the Astros cheated. They should have got a way more of a punishment than what they got. And the Yankees obviously were a big reason why they were obviously got impacted big time by the cheating. Obviously, the entire MLB got impacted by the cheating scandal, but especially the New York Yankees. We obviously lost twice to the Houston Astros in the playoffs in that time period that they were cheating. First in 2017 and then again in 2019. So, obviously with all that cheating stuff going on, obviously it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for us to try and, we were one game away from making the World Series, and then sure enough, they beat us. And the reason they beat us was because they were cheating, and they went on and beat the Dodgers, and they were cheating then. And, Aaron Judge would have won the MVP, but Jose Altuve, he knew what pitch was coming, and they cheated. And they deserve every single bit of the boos. They deserve every single bit of the chance, and it was awesome to see the signs. I think the signs sometimes can be the most funniest. The players might not see them, but there was literally this whole thing I saw, like just pictures and pictures and pictures of the different signs, like, oh, cheaters, and some of the signs, they said some stuff on them that, you don't want to repeat, but there's a lot of stuff on those signs, trash cans, there was one person in the stands, ESPN kept on showing it, there was this one person in the stands, they had a blown up garbage can, like they had a deflatable, and they blew it up, so they had a trash can there, obviously with them banging on it, so, it was nice to see the signs. It was good to hear the boos, and I'll tell you what, watching that game last night, I literally, if you closed your eyes and you did not know that it was a regular season game, if you closed your eyes, you would have thought that, number one, that would have been a packed Yankee Stadium. It sounded like it was a sellout crowd. And number two, that sounded like it was a playoff atmosphere. It literally sounded, we were in a playoff game. It sounded like it was a must-win game. And hey, the Yankees take the first game of the series. They play again today, an opportunity to beat them again. And like I said, everyone was wondering, oh, are the Yankees going to throw at them? And I said this before the game. I was talking to someone about the game. I said this before the game. I said, I don't think throwing at them might be the best answer. I said, the best thing you can do is go out there, let the fans do their talking, let them boo, feed off the fans, and beat them. Just beat them. That's the best thing you can do. Instead of going down to their level, throwing at them, starting a brawl, and then losing. Go out there, play your game, hit the ball, and win. And they did that last night. They hit the ball very well, scored 7 runs. And it was a great win. It was a very good win. I think that might have been my favorite win of the entire year so far, just because it was the Houston Astros, and also that propels us over 500, which is crazy. I'm saying this as a New York Yankee fan, but we're over 500. Like that's great. Like we're rolling right now. We're cruising. We've won 9 of our last 12. We're on a 4-game win streak. We swept the Tigers. We won yesterday. The weather right now, the weather is not great at Yankee Stadium, but hopefully the game gets in. And if they do, hey, another opportunity today to take another win the series, then tomorrow you go for the sweep. So things right now are looking up for the New York Yankees after a brutal start to the season. But to recap last night, like I mentioned, the Yankees, the Nets played last night. They took a tough loss. It's just, we just got to be ready for the playoffs. It's obviously tough to lose these games when, you're going to lose the number 1 seed here in the Eastern Conference, but, the Nets just got to start getting rolling again. We got to get back to playing our game of we got to get back to playing our brand of basketball. And last night KD played well. I mean, you can't ask for much more. It's just, the Bucks were just the better team last night. They were the better team on Sunday, and then they were a better team last night. So I'm not going to sit here and, try and make excuses. The Bucks played a better game than us the past past 2 nights. They beat us late in games. It was close games going down the stretch in both on Sunday and yesterday, and the Bucks were able to propel late, and that they got the job done. So I found that the Nets last night, they fell behind early, and they never were able to really come back. I found them trying to climb the entire game. They were trying to do too much to get back in the lead instead of just playing their game. They got away from their game, their brand of basketball very quickly in that game when they went down earlier, and they never were able to completely come back. So, but they have a day off today. Rangers played today against the Capitals. This is the final game of the season, home for the New York Rangers, and then we play tomorrow against the Bruins, and then finish up our season Saturday against the Bruins, and then that's the season for us as we don't play playoffs as we're eliminated. But the Rangers game's on today is on NBC, so for those of you who usually don't get the Rangers game, that is nationally televised. I believe that's going to be our last nationally televised game of the season. I don't believe either of the Bruins games are nationally televised. I don't expect them to be, as the Rangers are eliminated and the Bruins are already clinched. So that series means absolutely nothing, because it's not like the Bruins are fighting for a playoff spot or the Rangers are fighting for a playoff spot. The Bruins clinched and the Rangers are out of it. So whether the Bruins win 2 or the Rangers win 2 or they split, it doesn't matter. Rangers are going home. Bruins are going to the playoffs. But still, like I said, I would love to see us finish off the season on a strong note. And the Yankees obviously played today as well. But these are the topics for today. Today, obviously, I'm going to kind of go off of what I talked about yesterday with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to continue the same thing today, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Broncos. So the Broncos quarterback situation right now, and the way it stands right now with the Broncos quarterback situation is that it's very confusing. It's very, 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 very confusing. So the Denver Broncos right now are in a very interesting situation at the quarterback position. So they obviously traded for Teddy Bridgewater. They obviously traded obviously they drafted Drew Lock last season, or 2 years ago. Last year was his second year. This is his third season. So obviously their quarterback situation right now is kind of a coin flip. Who's going to start day one? Who's going to start week one? Who is going to be under center week one? Is it going to be Drew Lock? Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? And they're the favorites, and they're continuing to try to make a push that the Broncos are most interested in Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos are a team that's most interested in Aaron Rodgers. So who is going to be starting for the Broncos week one? Is it going to be Drew Lock? Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? Or are they going to make some dramatic trade that really just changes how the NFL season can go and take Aaron Rodgers and trade for him? Who is going to be their quarterback? That's one of the bigger questions out there right now, and we thought it might get answered in the draft. Some people thought they might draft a quarterback, and I honestly could see that too, but we sit here right now, they didn't draft a quarterback, they instead traded for Teddy Bridgewater. So who is going to be their quarterback day one? A big question. We don't know. I will tell you who I think it should be, and I'll tell you why coming up here. Then we'll get into the Giancarlo Stanton success. Like I said, Yankees hit well yesterday. Well, guess who's hitting the best on the team right now? Yes, Giancarlo Stanton. Guy's batting .297. He had in those 4 games, I believe, against Baltimore, he had 3 3-hit games. Then he had a 4-hit game yesterday. He cruised against the Tigers. He went 4 for 5 yesterday with 2 singles, a double, and a home run. And the home run early, too, put us in the lead. I mean, Stanton, he's just been hitting the ball so well. And this looks like the Giancarlo Stanton we saw in Miami. A guy that was getting 2-3 hits a night. A guy that was cranking a home run here. And a guy that was getting home runs, getting 2-3 hits a night, being that big-time impact player. And I'll tell you why Stanton has all of a sudden gained success. It's because of where they got him in the batting order. Number 1 is LeMahieu. Number 2 has been Stanton. They switched it. It was Judge, then Stanton. Now it's Stanton and then Judge. And this has made a huge impact on Stanton. It's definitely put less pressure on him to go up there because he knows he's got Judge behind him. So if Stan gets out, he knows the guy behind him is going to be able to back him up. Instead of coming up with possibly 2 outs in an inning, he's coming up second with either a runner on base, which gives him a golden opportunity, and then Judge behind him to back him up. So Stan's been very big. He's been our hottest hitter right now, and I'll talk about that. Then I want to get into the New York sports update like I always do, finish off the podcast with that. Rangers, Yankees, both play today. Mets have a doubleheader. DeGrom's injured. He's got some side tightness, so they did some MRI stuff. It came back all good. Just a couple days off from throwing. So as a Mets fan, you got to hope that I'm not a Mets fan, but if you are a Mets fan, you got to hope it's nothing severe. And even just a baseball fan like me, you got to hope it's not severe. I am a Yankees fan. I'm not a Mets fan. I hate the Mets, but I do like DeGrom, and he's so much fun to watch. So I hope that he does get back soon because he is something special to watch when he takes the mound. One of the better pitchers we've seen in recent memory here. So we'll see what happens to him. And like I mentioned, Mets have 2 games today. Yesterday's game got canceled. So, and then the Yankees, Mets, Rangers all play. Nets with a day off. I believe the Knicks also play today. So, New York sports continue to roll on. So, with all that being said, this is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So, Aaron Rodgers trade rumor. So, Broncos going to be the most interested in deal for quarterback. So, I want to say this first. Okay, this Aaron Rodgers stuff. And I mean, I'm not even kidding. Yesterday when I got off talking about the podcast, and then today there was a report that came out earlier today about Aaron Rodgers, texting people and talking about the GM and saying how bad he is. He said he was like the Jerry Krause of the Green Bay Packers, and we all know who Jerry Krause is. He was the guy with the Chicago Bulls, was the guy that broke up the dynasty in the 90s. Obviously, MJ and all of them, they wanted to go for one more. They obviously got 6. They wanted to go for the 7th, and they weren't allowed. Jerry Krause decided to break up that team and decided not to, and we will never know whether they will go for a 6th, whether they would have went for a 7th, and if they would have won that, well, we would have never known. Now, the emergence of the Los Angeles Lakers then came around, and then the Bulls obviously went through a rebuild. But that's besides the point. That's not even on topic here. But yeah, so Aaron Rodgers has been saying a lot of stuff. So, obviously, we know the Denver Broncos right now are in a situation at quarterback, which is very confusing. I would like to say this. All of the Denver, Colorado, whatever, the Colorado sports teams right now, they're very confusing. Because you got the Broncos, who we don't even know who's going to be their week 1 quarterback. You got the Colorado Rockies, who are the worst team arguably the worst team in the MLB. Then you got the Denver Nuggets, who are one of the best teams in the NBA, going to make the playoffs. And you got the Colorado Avalanche, who might be the best hockey team in the NHL. So it's like split. The football and the baseball team, it's like they're in an area right now, they're in like uncharted territory. It's like the football team, like they still don't know who their quarterback's going to be. The baseball team's in a huge rebuild, probably going to get rid of Trevor Story either at the trade deadline or at the end of the season, enter a massive rebuild. Then you got the basketball team with Nikola Jokic, more than very well could win the MVP. And you got the NHL team that's got, Nathan McKinnon and, really good goaltending, and, they might win it all in the Stanley Cup. So it's crazy how 2 of the teams in Colorado, they're lost, they don't know what they're doing, and you got other 2 that are like rolling right now at the top of each of their leagues. Arguably you could say they're both the best in each of the leagues. You could say the Nuggets are one of the best NBA teams out there, and you could say the Avalanche, actually the new power rankings I think came out had the Avalanche as number 1. So I mean, it really all is opinion, but that's why I wanted to make that clear first. Is that it's just so confusing because you got the Rockies and the Broncos who they're on the other end. They're kind of like, okay, what are we doing? And you got the Nuggets and the Avalanche that are they're cruising right now. They're both having very good seasons, both going to make the playoffs, and obviously the Broncos season isn't on, so they might very well go and make the playoffs. But right now their situation's so confusing, and obviously I've witnessed quarterbacks over the years in football and NFL. I'm a Jets fan, believe me. I understand what it's like not having the right answer at quarterback. We've gone through so many different quarterbacks over the years. In most recently, the past decade, with Mark Sanchez, then, Josh McCown, you had Michael Vick in there, you had Tim Tebow for a little bit, then you had Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh McCown, Sam Darnold, and now we're obviously here with Zach Wilson, who I do ultimately think will be the answer. So believe me, I've had my fair share of quarterbacks. I've seen so many different quarterbacks dress up in a Jets uniform. Geno Smith, Fitzpatrick, Darnold, and now Wilson. Right? I've seen many of it. Right? I've seen so many of it. And I feel like the Broncos are in that situation. Because to be honest, the Broncos, right, they won that Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl 50. Right? They won it that year. They beat the Panthers, obviously, with Cam Newton and all them. That Panthers team that many thought might go undefeated. They ended up only losing, I think, like 1 game or something. They went like 15-1. And I mean, they were so dominant. The Panthers were dominant that year. Sure enough, the Broncos made the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning ended up retiring, ended his career on the high note. Now, they obviously thought they had the guy. They obviously thought they had an answer in They obviously thought they obviously could not. They haven't been able to find an answer. They really have not. They have not been able to find an answer. They thought they had an answer in Brock Osweiler, who was their quarterback then. Then they brought in, Trevor Siemian, and then it was Paxton Lynch, and then most recently they drafted Drew Lock. Then it was a little bit of Joe Flacco, and then back to Drew Lock, and then this year they brought in Teddy Bridgewater, and they still got Drew Lock, and now they're interested in Aaron Rodgers. It's like this Broncos team, they have not been able to find a steady quarterback since Peyton Manning has, retired, and since the Super Bowl team back in, 2015, 2016 season. So it's understandable. Sometimes teams struggle to find quarterbacks, to replace all-time greats. And Peyton Manning will go down as an all-time great, not only in Broncos history, but in NFL history. He will go down as one of the better quarterbacks out there. He had a very successful career, and obviously, finished off on a high note, winning the Super Bowl with the Broncos. So, obviously, you find that it's difficult. And right now, the Patriots, too, they're kind of going through that as well, right? They obviously, Brady was gone. Now they brought Cam Newton. But he didn't have a good year last year, so then they called in Mac Jones. You thought you might have had it in Garoppolo. They got rid of him. It was kind of like one of those things that was like, right now they're still kind of testing who's going to be the guy that's going to try to fill in the shoes. So that's the same thing here with the Denver Broncos. And they've had like 60 billion quarterbacks in 4 years here. It's been crazy. And now all of a sudden they're interested in Aaron Rodgers. And if I was the Denver Broncos, and right, everyone's going to have their opinions, because I do believe Drew Lock, not saying this in a bad way, I do believe Drew Lock is one of the more controversial topics out there to talk about in terms of, not controversial, I shouldn't use that word, but in terms of, people having very different opinions on him. And I believe either you think Drew Lock's going to be a good player, a really good player, or you don't think he's going to succeed at all. I really don't think there's going to be any in between with him. I don't think there's anybody out there that's going to think that he's going to be like, he's all right. I think you either think he's going to be a really solid player or he's going to be a borderline terrible player. I feel like you could even say that he might be average. You could, actually. I think people have many differing opinions. I feel like it's like half of the fan base wants him, the other half doesn't. Then there might be some people that want Rodgers. Some people might want Bridgewater, scattered in there. Right? I feel like the Broncos fan base right now is in one of those situations where it's split like 50-50. But if I was the Broncos here, I'd take a step back. Instead of looking at the moment now, instead of looking at the now, instead of looking at, we got to get Rodgers, he's available, right? We don't know he's available, but he wants out, right? We got to get Rodgers, or we got to look at him. We got to go all in. Instead of looking at the now, the Broncos have got to take a step back and look at the future. Because Aaron Rodgers, yes, he won an MVP last season. Yes, he's a guy that can definitely take a team that goes from average and take them to the playoffs. I understand that. But he is 37 years old. He's going to start to decline. And also a guy that's been in the Packers system ever since he got drafted. To now all of a sudden go out and go to the Denver Broncos would just be a weird change. It would just be an odd change. And that's why I think what the Broncos have got to do. They've got to take a step back. They've got to look at the big picture, right? Stop getting sucked into the now and take a step back and think about your options right now at quarterback. Think about your overall offense. Think about the coaching staff. Just think about the organization as a whole, where they are headed. That could the path that they're on right now, they're kind of in a rebuild to, being competitive. The path that they're on right now would change a whole lot if they got Rodgers. You also got to think about this. Right? Are you more focused on now, trying to win now? Or are you trying to get out? Or are you trying to, build for the future? And that's why I think the Broncos have got to answer a question. Now, I know a lot of people, when you look at the numbers, Drew Lock hasn't been that good. He hasn't. But I've mentioned this many times with Drew Lock, and I say it all the time with quarterback. Like I said, I've seen a lot of quarterbacks. Right, I'm a fan. I'm a Jets fan. We've had so many quarterbacks through the past decade. We've had so many different quarterbacks. Now we got Wilson. I do believe he's the answer. But back to the Broncos point, right? I get where the Broncos are coming from. They're kind of in a situation right now where it's like 50-50. It's a coin flip. It's like, do we go with Locke? Do we go with Bridgewater? Do we go all out on Rodgers? Like, what do you do? Now, I think if I had to put money on it, if I had to bet on this, if I had to sit here and tell you what I think is going to happen, I don't think Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback for the Broncos. week 1. I don't think Rodgers is going to be I think Rodgers is going to be with the Packers week 1. Is he going to be playing? I don't know. I do think he will be with the Packers. I think the Packers are completely sold on not trading him. I think this Aaron Rodgers situation is going to turn into Deshaun Watson, where it's a bunch of rumors, a bunch of stuff going on. Now, very well, you could sit here and, very well, I could be wrong. Honestly, I think it would be pretty cool to see if Rodgers get traded. It would really make a big difference in the NFL. Please don't get traded to the AFC East, where the Jets got to play you twice a year, but even the AFC to begin with. But if he gets traded to another NFC team, or let's just say he gets traded to, the Raiders or the Broncos or something like that, it would make it interesting. If he got traded to the Broncos, it would definitely make it interesting. It would really change the trajectory of the entire NFL season. Because the team that he leaves, the Broncos, their odds of winning would go extremely down, and the team that he joins, their odds of winning would go extremely up. But I think if I'm the Broncos here, and personally, if I had to choose from Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock, who would I take? I would personally take Drew Lock as my quarterback. And I still think Drew Lock can be the Broncos franchise guy. Now, I don't want to try to sit here and say how Drew Lock hasn't had a fair opportunity, because he's got his opportunity. He hasn't gotten chances. But in a way, I feel like the Broncos haven't given him the full-on opportunity. Like, 1 minute he's playing, 1 minute they feel like he's the answer. Then the next minute you got the organization almost like turning their backs on him and trying to figure out another solution. And that's what was happening a couple of weeks ago with Teddy Bridgewater. Right, he got traded, or what? It was like last week, I think. He got traded to the Broncos for a 6th-round pick, and all of a sudden now you're like, okay, well, we brought in Bridgewater, we now have Locke. Like, you wouldn't bring in Teddy Bridgewater for no reason. So that's what's just weird. It's very interesting. And I still believe that Drew Lock can be the franchise guy because, like I've said, he reminds a little bit of a Darnold situation. The Broncos he's had a lot of moving parts around him. First of all, I don't think the coaching staff in Denver I don't think in Denver it's very good in the coaching staff. I don't think Vic Fangio is really the answer. I really don't. He was on the hot seat a little bit this season. They said they're going to bring him back for another year. Now, if he has it's a 17-game season this year, so let's just say he wins 4 or 5 games this year, I think he's gone. And if you don't see any progression out of Drew Lock, he might also be gone. But if I'm the if I'm the Broncos here, you got to look at it this way. Courtland Sutton, his number 1 receiver, played 1 game last season and tore his ACL. Okay, so he missed the entire year. And on a quarterback, that's hard. Losing your number 1 receiver, and when he's out there, he's very good. He's a very solid receiver. Is he one of the best receivers in the league when he's out there? No. But he's very solid. I would take Courtland Sutton any day. He tore his ACL. That hurts you. You got Jerry Jeudy, who let me tell you, played all 16 games. He did well. But, 2, you got to realize that, with the shortened off season and stuff like that, it was a little tough sometimes to maybe build a little bit of chemistry with him. And then, Noah Fant, he missed the game, I believe. But another thing too, but he played most of the time. Another thing too is their running backs. 1 minute it was Lindsey in the backfield, the next minute it was Melvin Gordon. Then it was both of them switching on and off, which I have no problem with that. But you got to build some consistency. 1 minute Lindsey's injured and Melvin Gordon's playing, and then Melvin Gordon's injured and Lindsey's in. And then they just split time, which is completely normal. But last season, they had a lot of, they just had a lot of, they kind of had a lot of stuff going on. They had a lot of bouncing back and forth on the offense. And that's tough for a quarterback. Especially for a young quarterback that's still trying to break into the league. Right? Still trying to break into the league. A guy that's still trying to find his footing. So that's how I see it. And I feel like with all the moving parts around him, I do think he would very benefit with a new coaching staff. Just tear it up, bring in a new coaching staff. And then you got his second year, which a lot of times when you see quarterbacks and receivers really build chemistry, you get Jerry Jeudy back. Then you get Courtland Sutton. You already got Noah Fant. Melvin Gordon is going to be a running back if Phillip Lindsay's didn't come back. They ended up being a free agent. So now you look at it as, hey, okay, now you finally have a little bit of a solid foundation around you. You have Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant. As long as they stay healthy, those are 3 solid weapons. Then you got a stable running back in your backfield. Your offensive line's pretty solid, and you also are mobile. So now this is a big time. And that's what I would do with the Broncos. Instead of looking at the now, they're looking at more of the, instead of looking at the now, you got to look at they got to look at a big, they got to look at the big picture. They got to look at the big picture. Drew Lock, try to build around him. I do think he would benefit with a brand new coaching staff. I really do. So, we'll see. But definitely an interesting story here. So I'm going to read this article to you. Aaron Rodgers trade rumors. Broncos going to be the most interested in deal for quarterback. The Denver Broncos are reportedly the team most interested in acquiring Aaron Rodgers if the Green Bay Packers trade their disgruntled quarterback. The Denver Broncos continue to be the team I hear that are going to be the most interested in Aaron Rodgers and are going to put the most in front of Green Bay Packers to try to make this trade go down. ESPN's Diana Rossini said Tuesday on Get Up. The Broncos already traded for Teddy Bridgewater this offseason, but only gave up a 6th-round pick in that deal. They did not select a quarterback in the 2021 NFL Draft, even though Justin Fields and Mac Jones were both available at number 9 overall. Denver instead selected cornerback Patrick Surtain II. The Packers have been steadfast in their stance. They will not trade Rodgers, even though the reigning league MVP has been equally strident in saying he no longer wants to play for the franchise. General Manager Brian Gutekunst, the Packers GM, has made several public comments in the media in recent days saying he has no plans to trade Rodgers. I have no trade discussions with any. I had no trade discussion with any team. I've received one call from a team Thursday night after all the news came out. I said no. That was the end of the conversation. Packers GM told Peter King of NBC Sports. Rodgers' displeasure with the franchise dates back to the 2021 and 2020 NFL Draft, when the GM chose to punt high-leverage rounds rather than target immediate impact players. He traded up to draft quarterback Jordan Love in round 1 and grabbed backup running back A.J. Dillon and backup tight end Joshua Zagara in rounds 2 and 3, respectively. Selecting Love as a long-term replacement for Rodgers appears to be the biggest sticking point. Rodgers was blindsided by the move, and the GM acknowledged the team failed to properly communicate with its franchise quarterback. The Broncos would provide an interesting landing spot for Rodgers, given their heavy investment in skill position players in recent seasons. Courtland Sutton, Noah Fant, Dalton Risner, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler have all been selected in higher rounds of recent drafts and found success. The Broncos also traded up in the 2021 draft to select running back Javonte Williams in round 2. It's the exact type of investment the Packers have not made for Rodgers in recent seasons. So, Rodgers would be surrounded by weapons. It would all depend on if those weapons can stay healthy. Courtland Sutton did not do that last season. Now, KJ Hamler came out of Penn State. He got drafted, obviously, from the Packers. Obviously, he definitely had his moments last season as well. But I look at it as, and I, like I said, people might come at me and say, you might think that I'm crazy for saying this, but I don't really know if I would even want Rodgers right now. Okay, he's 37 years old. He is a guy that, not that he's out of his prime, but like if you trade 3 first-round picks for him, 2 seconds, and I don't know, a fourth, and a player for a guy that might be good for 1 or 2 more years, I just don't know if that's the investment you want to make, especially if you're a team like the Denver Broncos, where you do have a young running back that I don't really think has gotten his completely fair chance to lead the organization. I don't. This guy showed a lot of talent in college. He showed a lot of it. And actually, many were surprised that he fell to the 2nd round in the NFL Draft. He showed a lot of talent. And when the Broncos took him, you really had a feeling that, maybe the Broncos have found their answer, but I don't think he's gotten a proper chance. A lot of moving parts around him. I don't really know if the Broncos are completely sold on Drew Lock. And I do think if they give him the proper chance, if the weapons around him stay healthy, and he just goes out there and does his thing, he can be a dangerous quarterback. And that's why I don't know if you want to trade everything to just get Rodgers, when you can have still a young, solid base around him. And I don't know. right? Because I gotta tell you what. You're going to have to trade a lot for Rodgers. If you're going to want to get rid of Rodgers, if you want to get Rodgers, you're going to have to probably give up at least 3 first-round picks. Maybe like 4 and a second. But at least 3 first-round picks, like a second or a third, and maybe like a 4th or a 5th mixed in there. So like 5 draft picks. And I wouldn't be surprised, because obviously the Packers would then lead toward Jordan Love. I wouldn't be surprised if you then go ahead and give him a receiver, because the Packers might want to build around Love. Maybe they do that. But I'm telling you what, you're gonna need to give up a lot. And for a Broncos team that's still in a rebuilding phase, I don't know if you want to give up everything to get a guy that's going to be good for probably 1, 2 to 3 more years here. And another thing too is when you're trying to build a culture and you're trying to build a team that's going to, build for the future, you want culture-changing players. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is that. It's a guy that does a lot on his own. He does a lot of, leading the way. He's not a great listener to the coaching staff. He kind of goes out there and does his own thing. And that's not what you want in a young locker room. So, and like I said, some people might be like, it's Aaron Rodgers. What are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about the fact that you also have young quarterbacks, young players on your team that want to learn and grow and want to change and want to try to change the culture. And if you're getting a guy that just comes in here and doesn't help with that, that could cause issues. And if you look at Drew Lock's stats here, they're as followed. Last season, he did throw 15 interceptions and threw 16 touchdowns. He threw a lot of interceptions. I will admit that. That was not good. But he only played 13 games. And in 2019, he only played 5 games. It's a guy that's only played 18 games in his NFL career. I understand he's not gone off to a good start. He's 24 years old. I get that. He's played 18 games in 2 years. Okay? That's not good. That's not good. He hasn't even played a full season yet. So you really haven't even seen that much from Drew Lock to say that he's bad or to say that he's good too. But for all these people saying how bad he is, he's only played 18 games. 18 games in 2 years is nothing. And also, let me tell you, those 18 games, last season, those 13 were without Cortland Sutton, and he was breaking in a new receiver in Jerry Jeudy. And then you obviously had KJ Hamler as well. You had running backs bouncing all over the place. And the 5 games in his rookie year, he was just trying to find his footing in 5 games. He only played 5 games. It's tough to find your footing. It's tough to really get a rhythm when you only play 5 games. So, a guy who has already, I feel like, been through a lot. Only 18 games in his 2 seasons. A lot has moved around him to all of a sudden just say that Drew Lock's not going to be good. And he's shown a lot of talent. He's shown that he can throw and run. He's shown that he can escape a pocket. That's, he's shown that he can escape pressure. He's shown that he can make the right reads. He's done that. Now, his accuracy could be better, but I do think part of that could be just building chemistry with receivers and continuing to get better. If Drew Lock turns out to be what they expected him to be, this is a group that can learn and grow all at the same time. And the future looks bright then. Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, right? All of a sudden now, Drew Lock, you got all young guys that are all building chemistry together. That's how you create, teams that are going to be good in future years there. So, if I'm the Broncos, I would say you might want to step back a little bit and look at the big picture. Instead of just saying, let's go all out on Aaron Rodgers. Let's just go all out on him. Just go all out for a guy that's going to be 40 in 3 years. And not saying that he's not going to age well, but I don't know if he's going to be Tom Brady playing at a high level when he's 44 years old. So, who knows? We'll see how it plays out. But Broncos situation right now, quarterback's questionable. And if they don't take Rodgers, who's going to start week 1? Is it going to be Bridgewater or Locke? And that's another thing. It's another thing too. Who's it going to be? It's very interesting situation there in a very interesting situation, and they're gonna have to figure out what to do. Whether it is Rodgers, whether it is, I don't think they're gonna get Rodgers, but let's just say it is Locke and Bridgewater. Well, who's gonna start week 1? So a lot of questions ahead for the Broncos, and especially with the quarterback position. But with that being said, coming up next, we're going to get into Giancarlo Stanton's success. He's the hottest hitter on the New York Yankees right now, and arguably one of the hotter hitters in the MLB right now. This guy has not only been hitting the ball well, but he's been smacking the ball. This is a guy that has like top 10. They showed it yesterday on ESPN. Like the top 10 to like 15 hardest hits of the season have all been Stan. I think one was Shohei Ohtani and one was another guy. But like 13 of like the 15 hardest hit balls of the season have been Giancarlo Stan's. And the hardest hit ball of the season was Stan's. So, first of all, I wanted to get into that. And second of all, he's been destroying the baseball. I mean, this is a guy that's the hottest Yankees hitter right now, batting .297. He went from batting like 180 going into that Orioles series to now a couple games later batting .297. He's been hot, and I'll tell you why he all of a sudden has found this spark coming up next. Okay, so I obviously got his stats up here, and I was just reading it. I was just looking at this. Now, this is pretty crazy. Now, I knew that he didn't play much the past 2 years, but he already played more games than he did entire of 2019, and he's already played more games than he did in all entire of 2020. In 2019, he only played 18 games, and in 2020, he only played 23 games. And obviously, and in this season, he's already played 25 games. So, first of all, and knock on wood, the Yankees right now are 25, or not 25. He's played 25 games. The Yankees right now are 15-14. So they're 29 games in. Stan's played 25 of the 29 games. Now, the 4 games that he has missed have not been to any health issues or injuries at all. It's been to just getting him rest, and Boone always says that. Now, I'm not a huge fan of always resting him, especially when in the middle of a hot streak he's in, but he was able to still, continue his hot streak. But obviously, Giancarlo Stanton is obviously, a guy who the Yankees obviously got for a ton of money. And they got him from the Miami Marlins, obviously, in 2018 for a ton of money. He was the prize of the NFL or the MLB offseason. He was the prize. Going into that offseason, I remember going into the winter meetings, everyone was talking about Stanton. He was the prize of that offseason. And the Yankees got him. And I'll tell you what. In his first year with the New York Yankees in 2019, he did his job. He played 158 games. He batted .266, and he cranked in 38 home runs. He did his job in 2018. 2019, when it started to go downhill a little bit, he only played 18 games, health issues, couldn't stay healthy, or not health issues. I shouldn't say health issues like health-wise, but, he had injuries. Injuries hurt him, couldn't stay healthy, he only played 19 games. Last season in 2020, got off to a roaring hot start, was hitting the ball well, and I remember the game against the Rays, he was running, he got a hamstring injury, they said it was minor, he ended up missing pretty much the rest of the regular season. He only played 23 games. And now this season, he changed his workout in the offseason, not as much heavyweight stuff, a lot more just... a lot more, they said, like him and Judge did a lot more just stretching stuff and just getting the body ready. He's played 25 games already. He's batting .297, has got 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, an OPS of .887. And oh yeah, he holds the hardest hit ball of the 2020 MLB season right now. So, Stanton right now is doing everything Yankees fans want him to do. He's been hitting in the clutch. We saw it yesterday. LeMahieu on second base, he got up. The shift was on. He hit it to the right side, scored LeMahieu. We saw him hit a home run early. Obviously, Bregman got the scoring started for the Astros, took a home run. Stanton came right back with another home run. And sure enough, the Yankees kept on feeding off of that. He went 4 for 5 yesterday with 2 singles, a double, and a home run. He was a triple side of the cycle. Cycle is one of the rarest things we see in baseball. And that's another thing, too, with Stanton. It's not just the fact that he's hitting the ball. It's the way he's hitting them. This is a guy that's destroying the baseball. He's hitting the ball up into the 115, 120 miles an hour. I don't know what the hardest hit ball of the season exactly been. But I do believe, I don't know, maybe this might sound crazy, but I thought one time with the Marlins he hit a 124-mile-an-hour ground ball, which is crazy because that's faster than a car travels on a highway. And I always say this, too, in baseball. I always say that. With the 124-mile-an-hour, like even pitching, like a car on a highway might travel, I don't know, whatever the speed limit is. So what, 60, 70, 80, somewhere, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. But like a car on a highway might travel something like that. Like I always think about that. Like when a pitcher comes in like 101, that's going faster than a car on a highway. Or at least I hope no one's going 110 on a highway. But like that's what I'm saying. Like 101 miles an hour is faster than a car goes on a highway. Like that's just mind-boggling to me. Like see that pitch coming in and to be able to hit it is just insane. It's just insane. And I know a lot of people when they want to say how bad a player is, and I've done it too, like you also got to realize, you got to look at that, and I do this too, right? I've been criticizing Sanchez for a while now. I mean, he can't hit, but I also got to think, you also got to step away from us. You got to also step back and say, wow, like, yeah, it's also 95 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour fastball that they're trying to hit. Like, if anybody or you try to stand up there and try to hit that thing, you probably ain't hitting it. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's the truth. Hitting a 100 mile an hour fastball is one of the hardest things to do in sports. It might be the hardest thing to do. So that's another thing too. And another thing I noticed with Stanton, and number one obviously is he's been healthy, and that's been great. And this is what I've been wanting to tell Yankees fans, right? I keep saying this. I've liked Stanton. I know a lot of people, and I can see where those people are coming from. I mean, it's a guy that's played 18 games in 2019, played 23 games, and he's getting paid these big bucks. And when he's not able to stay healthy, it's obviously super frustrating. And I get that. I see it with many players out there, right? And same thing with Stan here. But he's already played 25 games this season. He's played more games this season than he did into all 2018 or all 2019 into all 2020. Not combined, but all them two apart. And that's been great. And this is what I've been saying to this is what I've been saying on this podcast, is being patient. Like when he's healthy, this is what he does. These are the numbers he produces. He's an MVP caliber player when he's healthy. He's one of the best baseball players out there when he is healthy. He is. And everyone's talking about that. Like, is this Stan turning back into MVP form? Is he Mike Trout? No. Mike Trout is arguably the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. Okay, but when Stanton's healthy, this is what we get. We get clutch hitting. We get 120 mile an hour balls hit off the bat. We get hard hits. We get bombs. We get big time RBIs. Right? We also get a 297 batting average, which is excellent for the MLB. The average is probably like 260 to 270. He's batting 297. It's insanely, you have a very good year if you bat in the 290s. You have a good year if you're batting in the, very good year if you're batting in the 280s. Anything over 300, you're just insane. And right now, he's batting 297. So arguably, he's just batting just shy of 300. And that's what I've been saying all along here, is if he could just stay healthy. And I know it's tough. I know it is tough. It's tough when, back in 2019 and 2020, hearing that he was getting injured, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's such a big bat coming out of the lineup. But when he's healthy, this is what he does. And we saw it in Miami when he was healthy. That's what he was doing. He had the big 1 year in Miami, right? He had the big, let's see. He had a big, the 1 year he hit 59 home runs in Miami. Now, another thing, too, what's been very good was his batting average is 297. And I've mentioned with Stanton, in his career, his batting average is 269, which is a power hitting average. So I've always said that to Yankees fans. Like, he's not a guy that's going to always hit for average. He's not a guy that's going to bat 300. He's never had a season before where he batted 300. His highest hitting season was right now it's 297, but before right now this season's obviously not over yet, so we got to see how it was 288. His highest hitting season was 288. He did it in 2014 with the Marlins, and he did it in 18 games, 288 with the Yankees, but you can't compare that because it's only 18 games. But in Marlins in 2014, he played 145 games and batted 288. So this is a guy that's never been, 288's been his highest batting average, which is very good, but some guys have hit into the 300s before. But another thing I noticed with Stanton, and which is great, and when he came to the Yankees, he was chasing a ton of pitches, and it actually was frustrating. It got a little frustrating. He was chasing a ton of pitches. It was just a bunch of swing and misses. It was a lot of pitches, not just outside, but low and outside, some of them in the dirt, and he was just swinging away at them. And, you were sitting there like, what is he swinging at? And then in the offseason of 2018, he started to lay off those pitches going into the next season of 2019. He started to lay off those pitches. And, you're like, okay, finally. And he obviously only played 18 games. You're like, okay, what did we get? And in last season, he really laid off those pitches. And, he only played 23 games. But now, this is what's so good about what he's doing. Is pitchers were able to just throw outside to him, and he was swinging at them. And now that he's not swinging at him, pitchers aren't able to do it. Now, some pitchers still do. We saw it yesterday. A pitcher, I don't know who it was. He was one of the guys in the bullpen. It was the play that he got the single. The second or first pitch of the at-bat, he threw it low and outside, and Stanton didn't swing at it. He hung off. Now, 2 years ago, he would have swung through that pitch and swung and missed. His plate discipline has gotten so much better. And we're now sitting here in 2021, already has got 25 games under his belt, batting .297, and his average is high because he's not striking out as much. He's laying off of those pitches. He's forcing pitchers to get to closer to the strike zone, which is what he did in Miami, and that's why he is getting these results. And that's been one of the big things. When we used to see him swinging at those bad pitches, it was like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? But now, he's not swinging through those pitches. He's looking at those pitches. They're balls. Maybe a 2-0 count, then it forces a pitcher to throw a pitch in the zone or near the zone, and that's a pitch that Stan's been taking advantage of. And that's been great. And I love to see that. He also looks more balanced up there. Obviously, he's got a very weird stance with the closed stance. When he first came here, it was a lot of just swinging. Now he looks way more balanced, got a lot more control of the bat. He just looks like his mechanics, and he just looks like, not even just that, the guy's gooing with confidence right now. He's got confidence all over him. He's got confidence written all over him. He's got very good confidence at the plate. He's laying off the bad pitches. He's swinging at the really good ones. He is, like I said, swinging at the really good ones. And he's taking advantage of all the at-bats he's getting. He's taking advantage of it. And he's having a great start to the season. So, batting .297, 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, 80-87 OPS. And he's also got the hardest hit ball of the MLB season. And that's another thing, too, I want to mention. In the postseason last season, he was the best Yankees hitter. He batted .308 in the postseason. Obviously, he had 6 home runs. He was dominant in the postseason, 13 RBIs. He had a great postseason last year. And obviously a guy that, we just want to see him put through the regular season success. He's shown he can get it done in the postseason, especially last year. We want to see the regular season success really come through. And right now, he's doing just that. He's already got 30 hits on the season, which is more than 2019 and 2020. 25 games in. 4 doubles, no triples yet, but that's not surprising. 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, like I said. And he's batting .297. That's one of the biggest things that pops out of all. And, it's been great to watch. It's been special. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a special player when he's hot. He is. He's a special player. And, he won an MVP. He's a special player when he's hot and he's swinging at the right pitches. His mechanics look good. He's the hottest Yankees hitter right now, and he is cruising. And, obviously, we'll see today if he continues it and if he keeps it up. So, that's what I got on Giancarlo Stanton. Let's get into the New York sports update here to finish off the podcast. Alrighty, so so yesterday in the NBA, the Clippers won, Kings won, Pelicans won. Mavericks won, Hornets won, and Suns won. Nets lost yesterday, 124-118. We moved to 43-23 on the season. Tough loss. We got to try to find a way to bounce back next game. As for the rest of the NBA here, we got the Celtics Magic. I'll give Celtics to win. Trailblazers Cavs, give Trailblazers to win. 76ers Rockets, give 76ers to win. Grizzlies Timberwolves, give Grizzlies to win. Pacers Kings, give Pacers to win. Suns, Hawks give Suns the win. Nuggets, Knicks give Nuggets the win. Or Bucks, Wizards give Bucks the win. Nuggets, Knicks give Nuggets the win. And Jazz, Spurs give Jazz the win. As for the NHL, yesterday the Oilers won, Bruins won, Penguins won, Sabres won, and Hurricanes won. It was the Oilers won, Devils won, Penguins won, Sabres won, and Hurricanes won. As for today's games, we got the Canadian Senators. I'll give Canadians the win. Predators, Blue Jackets. I'll give Predators the win. Lightning, Stars give Lightning the win. Blues, Ducks give Blues the win. Golden Knights, Wild give Golden Knights the win. Avalanche, Sharks give Avalanche the win. Flames, Jets give Flames the win. And Coyotes, Kings give Coyotes the win. Rangers also play today. Rangers come in this game 26-21-6. Capitals come in this game 33-14-5. The over-under for this game is 6. This game goes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on NBCSN. I'm going to give the Capitals a win. I hope the Rangers will win, but I don't foresee them winning. As for yesterday's MLB games, we got the Mariners won, Pirates won, Rays won, Rockies won, A's won, Indians won, Cubs won, Rangers won, White Sox won, Red Sox won, Phillies won, Braves won, Marlins won, Giants won, and Cubs won. Yankees won yesterday 7-3. We moved to 15-14 on the season. I talked a lot about it earlier. Just a big win. Great to see us, over 500 now. Got to continue it. As for today's games, we got the White Sox, Reds. I'll give White Sox the win. Giants, Rockies. I'll give Giants the win. Mariners, Orioles. Give Mariners the win. Let's see here. Cardinals, Mets. I'll give I'll give Cardinals the win. Then Marlins, Diamondbacks give Marlins the win. Braves, Nationals give Braves the win. Brewers, Phillies give Brewers the win. Red Sox, Tigers give Red Sox the win. Dodgers, Cubs give Dodgers the win. Twins, Rangers give Twins the win. Indians, Royals give Indians the win. Padres, Pirates give Padres the win. Angels, Rays give Angels the win. And A's, Blue Jays give A's the win. Then Mets, Cardinals, second game. I guess I'll give the Mets. I guess they'll split there. And as for the Yankees, the Yankees play today. Yankees come in this game 15-14. Astros come in this game 15-14. Yankees are 1.5-point favorites. Garcia's on the mound for the Astros. Jordan Montgomery's Monty's on the mound for the Yankees. The over-under for this game is 9.5 today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes Network. I'll give the Yankees the win. Continue it. Crowd's going to be behind us again. We're going to continue it there. Alrighty, so as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 104-57. And today I've got going Will Smith, Jake Cronenworth, Whit Merrifield, Josh Donaldson, Carlos Correa, Jed Lowry, Matt Olson, Austin Meadows, Jorge Soler, Dylan Carlson, Will Margot, Michael Taylor, and Alex Bregman. And then I got Chris Bassett on the mound. As for fantasy basketball, I'm currently winning 377-192. And today I've got going Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Jonas Valanciunas, Kemba Walker, and Buddy Hield. Jimmy Butler's day-to-day. Butler is a late scratch for Tuesday's contest against the Mavericks due to flu-like symptoms, so he was out there. Jeremy Grant's out. Grant Knee plans to return to the Pistons lineup Saturday in Philadelphia. Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports reports. So that's that. And then Lowry back is out for Tuesday's game against the Clippers. Blake Murphy of The Athletic reports. So that was obviously yesterday's game. We'll figure everything out there. And then, so let's get into Rangers Nation is my name, but let's get into fantasy hockey. I'm currently losing 218-179, but today I've got going Mika Zibanejad, Braden Point, Andres Kopitar, Johnny Gaudreau, Braden Shen, Joe Pavelski, David Prod, Ryan Strome, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Shea Weber, Jacob Kitcher, and Justin Falk, and Nicholas Backstrom, and I got Cam Talbot in goal. Injury update is as followed. Weber upper body skated on his own Monday. Pat Hickey of the Montreal Gazette reports. So that's that. Stamkos lower body returned to practice Tuesday. Joe Smith of The Athletic reports. So that was that. So slowly by slowly, team getting a little healthier. But I did make a move today. I added Sam Reinhart and dropped Artemi Panarin. Panarin's done for the season. He will miss the remainder 3 games for the Rangers. So I decided to drop him, pick up Sam Reinhart. He's been playing really well, and we'll see how all that plays out. So, I'm, not going so well in fantasy hockey right now, but, obviously hope I can still win, but, just still trying to, mix and mash with a couple of the matchups. I like what Sam Reinhart's been doing. He's been playing very well. So, obviously a guy that, I picked up, then I dropped, then I picked up, dropped, now I picked up again. So, an opportunity here to see if I can, hopefully get back on track here. And, obviously, see if I can make a comeback. But, Panarin missing the final 3 games of the season. I figured, pick up Reinhart. He's been the hottest player that's on waivers, has had a very good season. And, a guy that's a good goal scorer is going to get you points. So, I decided to do that. So, that's what I got for that. Now we'll do it for the podcast. So, like always, hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was another good podcast in the books. A lot of sports to get to. Yeah, go Yankees, go Rangers. I would love to see the Yankees get another win tonight and win the series, and then tomorrow go for the sweep. That would be great. So, we'll see how it all goes, we'll see how it all plays out. But with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.